nowadays that we have the internet with all of its terrible tumah at our fingertips. So therefore Hashem gave us so much kedusha and so much learning at our fingertips. Anyway, we now address the camera as well. Welcome everyone, and we thank Chazaq for sponsoring this year, and for all of you wonderful people for coming. Rishis Asra Harav Albaum, who gives us his shul for the learning of the Torah Kedosha. And I'd like to thank Yaniv for helping to publicize the share. I'd like to start off with a Gemara in Shabbos. The Gemara in Shabbos on Daf Peiches tells us that Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shemayim to receive the Torah. Went up to heaven to receive the Torah. And the Malachim looked at him and said in consternation, Mal yalud isha beinenu. What is a human born from a woman doing by us? I have to understand that when it says yalud isha, they said heaven isn't the place for something, a creature that comes from a tipa srucha, from a smelly drop. The angels were created from the celestial fire. They belong in heaven. What's this? What's a Yalud Isha doing in our environment? So the Rabbeinu Shalom, you ever hear of the expression adding fuel to the fire? The Rabbeinu Shalom gave an answer that added fuel to the fire. And he said, I'm giving him the Torah. To this, the Malachim were aghast. What? You're sending down the Torah to downtown Burbank? You're sending the Torah down there? The Torah is a Kulei Kaddish. The Torah, if anything, is the antithesis of a world of materialism, of a morass of decadence. It's the Torah. And they said, leave your glory in heaven. Here it's pure. You know, you have a shul. You have to keep the Torah in a safe. You have to, chas v'shalom, there's a fire. And we know that the Torah is, it's all pure. It's not safe to be around tumah, around the Torah. That's why, you know, a lot of time is spent on the sin of talking in shul. I mean, what's so terrible about talking in shul? I mean, it's better than talking Lashon Hara. Talking in shul. You have to understand that the sin of talking in shul is aggravated because it's in the presence of the Sefer Torah. It's like the Ramban says, why was Staten v'Amoira nuked by Hashem? There were so many other places that did terrible sins. Why did Staten v'Amoira get the nuclear treatment? And the Ramban says because Staten v'Amoira is located in Eretz Yisroel. And to behave that way in the palace of the king, to behave that way in Eretz Yisroel, that's not. So, they said, leave your splendor in heaven. It belongs here. So Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, Herzir lahem tshuva. Give them an answer. Now we know that the simple answer is that the Torah doesn't address the angels. As Moshe Rabbeinu would later tell them, do you have a father and mother that it's appropriate to you? Do you have an inclination to kill or to commit adultery? That we should say, lo sirtzach or lo sinah? Do you have businesses that we should tell you, v'asisa hayosher v'atoiv? It doesn't apply. But that's not the first answer, because you see, that answer is not a complete answer. So you'll say, why isn't that answer a complete answer? You have to know the Torah has no punctuation. It has no nekudos, no vowelization, no commas. The whole Torah could be read differently. The Gemara asks, how did Moshe Rabbeinu, it says Moshe Rabbeinu wrote the entire Torah and gave it to Klal Yisrael, right? How did Moshe Rabbeinu write the whole Torah if the Torah says Vayomas Moshe? And if he wrote it, it wasn't Torah's emes. It says Torah's emes, not San La'amai. But it says Vayomas Moshe, and he's not dead. So it's not a Torah's emes. Gemara asked this kasha in Menachos. It's a very big kasha. It says Moshe Rabbeinu wrote and translated the Torah in 70 languages. But how could he give the Torah if it says Vayomas Moshe and Moshe is not dead? So the Gemara says that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote it bedema. Now, different explanations in this Gemara. One explanation is he wrote it with tears, not with ink. And it would only be filled in with ink by Yoshua. Now, while that is a clever answer, it's not really simple, because if the Torah is written in tears, it's not a kosher Torah. It has to be written by Shuras B'dyai. If it's not a kosher Torah, then he didn't give them the Torah. So the answer that is given by the Vilna Gaon is bedema, means it was mixed up. It was mixed up. The letters were written, but it didn't say Vayomas Moshe. It was combined, the same words, but I'll give an example. Bereshis could be read Baroshis, which means he created in 6 days. You could form the Torah in many different ways. And the Rambam tells us, Kula Kol Torah Kula Shem Shel HaKadosh Baruch. The whole Torah is a combination of Hashem's names. All the different manifestations of Hashem. So the Malachim were going to get that Torah. So why was Hashem giving the Torah a watered-down version of the Torah, so to speak, down here? Watered down maybe is too. A different version of the Torah down here. Why did Hashem do that? So he said, Hilz Olahem Tshuva. Give them an answer. Says the Belzer Rebbe. You have to appreciate, when you talk about the Belzer Rebbe, this is Rabbi Yisroel Dov Mibelz, you have to understand who Rabbi Yisroel Dov Mibelz was. You have to appreciate it. When he was running away from the Nazis in the ghetto, he spent a different night. Every night he spent in a different home. This is a documented, our great Rebbes, their lives are documented. So he spent a different night in the ghetto, every night in a different home. I heard from one of my Talmidim, Ephraim Schwartz. He told me, this is very well known, that every house that the Belzer Rebbe slept in, that family completely survived the Holocaust. It's documented. At the time, people didn't know why he was playing musical houses. Every house that the Belzer Rebbe slept in, that house, everybody survived the Holocaust. These people are not, anybody that knows from the Torahs of Rabbi Yisroel Dov Mibel's, like I know a lot of his Torah on the Haggadah. I mean, every thought is so profound and so beautiful. So on this Gemara, he says, Hirzur lahem tshuva. What does it mean when Hashem said, give him an answer? So the Belzer Rebbe said, Hashem was telling Moshe what to say. Hashem said, tell them it's all about tshuva. Hirzur lahem, answer them tshuva. The whole Torah is given that we should do tshuva, and malachim are not capable of doing tshuva. That's why the Torah has to be sent down to this world. A malach doesn't change. And the whole Torah is given to change. Now this is such a profound lesson. You see, we're put on this world with a certain amount of raw material and raw potential. And Hashem says, okay, now I want to see you make something out of yourself. In Kiddush, we say on Friday night, Asher bara Elokim la'asais. Why did he shut that? Oh, it shuts by itself. In Kiddush, welcome Baruch. In Kiddush, it says, Asher bara Elokim la'asais. That Hashem created to do. Now, the simple meaning of that statement is that Hashem made us that we should be productive. We should be productive. Ramiller used to say that if he heard that there was shalom bayis problems in the family, one of the first things he wanted to know is if the husband was out of work. Not just because it says that if the cookie jar is empty, kad nokish, when the cookie jar is banging, there's mariva in the home, because when there's financial stress in the home, it's a problem. But also because gedoyla melacha shemechabedes es baila. Great is work, for it brings honor to the one who does it. We are people that are meant to be productive. That's why as soon as Adam came out of Gehenna, and that was the first Gan Eden, because of the sin on Motzoi Shabbos, that was the first time he saw darkness. He never experienced darkness because in Gan Eden there was no darkness. That's why it doesn't say in the Torah, Vayi Erev Vayi Voker Yom HaShvi. You ever wonder why doesn't it say Vayi Erev Vayi Voker Yom HaShvi? The answer is because Shabbos night there was no Erev. In Gan Eden, he only had light. He experienced the light of Sheishes Yimei Bereishis for 36 hours. 12 hours on Friday, 24 hours on Shabbos. That's why there's 36 lights to the menorah, the Rekeach says. If you count 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, it's 36. Because those are the 36. So when he came out, he was frightened. He was frightened. It was black. So Hashem showed him how to rub two stones or two pieces of wood together and create a fire. So that's why we make the bracha Borei Maorei Ha'esh on Motzei Shabbos. And that's why we only do it on Motzei Shabbos, except for Yom Kippur. We don't do it Motzei Yom Tov. Because the anniversary of the creation of fire was on Motzei Shabbos. And by the way, I always love to say this because it shows how different people have such different things in mind when they make a bracha. We might make a bracha, Borei Maorei Ha'esh, if we think about it. We might make a bracha that we enjoy light. But Rav Shach used to say that when he made a Borei Maorei Ha'esh, he thanked Hashem that he was able to learn in the night. He says that when he was a young man, he was running from the Goyim. They were trying to kill him. But as he ran, he wanted to learn. So in those days, how do you learn in the night? So he said he would go into synagogues and and he would scrape wax off the tables. And he had one shirt. He was running, he had one shirt. He would every night tear a piece of cotton from his shirt to make a wick. He said he walked around, he looked like a wild man because his shirt was ripped into pieces. And then he would rub and create a spark, and he would be able to learn until the wax ran out. And he said on Motzi Shabbos, he made the bracha Borei Morei Eish with a hope that he should have fire for the week to learn Torah. The things that we take for granted. The things that we take for granted. So Asher Borei Likim La'asos means that Hashem, and the reason why didn't Hashem have a fire ready for Adam? Because Hashem said, you're coming out of Gan Eden now, you have to know your job is La'asos, to produce, to create. Man is at his best. Women are at their best when they're creating, when they're doing. So the simple meaning of Asher Borei Elikim La'asos is that we were created to do, to accomplish. But it's more than that. We were created to make something out of ourselves. To take the raw materials that Hashem gave us and make out of ourselves more. And this is what Hashem said to tell the Malachim. I gotta send the Torah down to the world because I can't leave it up here with you. You're not changing. A Malach is not a Holech. A Malach is an Omeid. A Malach does what Hashem... Look, what's the premier example? The moon, the sun. What do we say by Kiddush Levana? Right? Choik uzman nosan lahem shelo yishanu es tafkidam. They never change from their role. Right? The Molad Halavana is to the millisecond from thousands of years ago. It never changes. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. Never different, never swerving. Same thing with the sun. These are tzva maila, Hashem's heavenly hosts. They can't do tshuva. The Torah doesn't belong up here. Hail's Alem tshuva, the Torah was given to teach people to improve. Somebody asked me, when I said this recently, he says, so you mean Hashem is hoping that we fail? Because our purpose is to do tshuva, but we have to sin in order to fulfill our purpose. The answer is tshuva is not sin. Tshuva means to improve, to be better. You could say that's semantics, because if I'm not davening as well as I could be, isn't that a sin? No. Davening better is improvement. Malachim don't say kadosh, kadosh, kadosh better. See, this is one of the ways that we transcend the malachim. There are many ways that we transcend the malachim. Although we say, Nekadesha Shimcha Ba'olam, we sanctify your name in this world, Kishem Shemakdishim Oisai B'Shmei Marom, like they sanctify you, B'Shmei Marom, in the upper heavens. But it's not the same. It's not the same for many reasons. First of all, it's interesting. When Yaakov was wrestling with the Malach, so the Malach said, let me go. Let me go. Ki ola hashachar. It's morning. Says Rashi, V'tzorach ani lomer shira. And I need to say song. That Rashi is troubling. V'tzorach? I tell my children always, don't say I have to bench. I want to bench. So what does the Malach mean when Rashi says, V'tzorach ani? The answer is, that's an angel. The angel has to. He doesn't have a choice. He doesn't have free will. We transcend the malachim. We choose to. We don't have to. No way. We don't have to. We could choose not to come to minyan. We could choose not to daven. That makes our davening more. Not only that, what do we say right before we say Kriya Shema? To declare that you are one, ba'ava. Or as we say in our Kedusha in Musaf, pamayim bi'ava shema imrim. To say Shema with love. Whoa. We have to choose to love to do it. But more than that, the Malach's Kaddish, Kaddish, Kaddish is always the same. Not ours. Not ours. You know, there's a Mishnah Berurah. It's such an exciting Mishnah Berurah. It's such an exciting Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah says that he quotes, it's the Chafetz Chaim, he's a very practical man, the Chafetz Chaim, but he quotes an ancient mystical sefer called the Sefer HaYecholos. He does this in the Mishnah Berurah, in Siman Kuf Chaf Hey, in Shulchan Aruch. The Mishnah Berurah says, listen to the words of the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah says that the Sefer HaYecholos writes that a Malach revealed that Hashem says, Toimer Libonai, tell my children, that when they say in Kedusha, Kadosh, 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 they should lift up themselves and look up to me. She'ein li hanoah ba'olam, I have no pleasure in the world. Ka'ois Shah, like that moment, she'einayim nisuais la'einai, that their eyes look up to my eye, and my eyes look down at their eyes. We're locked. Ba'is Shah. At that moment, I look at the Demus Yaakov that's on the Kisei HaKavod. I'm mechabka, I hug it, umenashka. I remember their zechusim and I memar their geulasa. That's a kaddish, kaddish, kaddish. You know how I get turned on when I say kaddish, kaddish, kaddish. Now you have to know what you're saying. In Uvalat Tzion, we translate. Why do we say it 3 times? So we say kaddish. The first one is bishmaya, you're holy in heaven. The second kaddish is you're holy down here. And the third Kaddish is La'olam Olol Me'almaya. We translate it every day in the Voltzia. The person lifts up Kaddish in heaven, Kaddish down here, Kaddish forever and ever. And I'm looking up at Hashem. I close my eyes. I'm looking up at Hashem, and Hashem is looking down at me, and my eyes are locked. And he hugs the Demus Yaakov, and he remembers my Zechusim. That's a Kaddish, Kaddish, Kaddish. Now a Malach can't do that kind of Kaddish, Kaddish, Kaddish. He does a standard Kaddish, Kaddish, all the time. Never changing, never uplifting. That's why Hashem said, Hirzu lehem tshuva. Tell him I have to send down the Torah. I have to send down the Torah to this world so that a person could improve and say, you know what? I got to work this summer. I got to work this summer on Loiselech Rachel Ba'amecha. I'm not going to sit under the umbrella table by the pool and talk about counselors and talk about this year's teachers. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to talk about my neighbors. I'm going to be better. A malach can't do that. A malach never talks about other malachim. That's why here's the Lam Tshuva. You have to tell them it's Tshuva. Life is all about improving. Now, I want to give you a drill. It's a drill. And it's a drill that I think if you work on it, it could be very, very revealing. Let's say I would be privileged to have a meeting with a time machine with the 5-year younger Moshe Meir Weiss. 5775. I would be allowed to meet with Rabbi Weiss 5770. So, of course, the initial meeting, the younger me would look at me and say, "You're so gray. You have such a bulging waistline." But then what else would the younger me see? Would he be proud of me 5 years later? Would he say, "Oh, I see you're steiging"? Would he see in me a more learned person, a nicer person, a more charitable person? Or is it same old, same old? That's a big question. And I think all of us need to ask from ourselves this question. What would be if I met a 5-year-old version of me? Would the reaction be, nice, or what a downer? What would we see a bettering of ourselves? Because that's what all of life is. That's why, by the way, we don't just say v'lemadatim es b'neichem. That's in Parasha Shniya, in the second Parasha. But the first Parasha, it says v'shinantam levanecha. Now, the word v'shinantam is a difficult word. It's one of those words that even though Kriya Shema is said in any language, you're not supposed to say Vishinantam in a different language. We don't know how to, just like L'toitofos, we don't know exactly how to translate it. But one of the meanings of Vishinantam is to change our children. That's why the word Mishnah, the body of oral law, is the word Mishaneh, to change. And so the letters Neshama, the soul, is the same letters as Mishaneh, to change. Because life is all about how are we changing. Good Jews are never satisfied with status quo. Status quo is no good. It's easy, but it's not why we were put on this world. And there's safety in changing. Because as long as Hashem sees that we want to change, He says, well, I'm going to give you more time. Rabbi Yaakov says, it says, "Vayishalech Hanoich es halekim ve'einenu, ki lokach oisoi halekim." Hanoich walked with God, and he's not here, for God took him away. So the question is obvious. What do you mean God took him away? Why did God take him away? Why did God take him away if he was walking with God? Says Rabbi Yaakov, Hanoich shot to the zenith, and then he stayed static. And Hashem said, if you're going to stay static, then it's better to be taken away, because otherwise you're going to fall. Life is always about becoming better. Giving more tzedakah, davening better, being a better spouse. I have to tell you that there's so much in life, thankfully, to better ourselves. Whether it's a Maida'ani in the morning, Hamapel in the night, how we greet people, are we smiling enough? Do we have kavanah when we say Yukum Purkan? Do we have kavanah when we say the Yom with its difficult words? There's so much to work on. But a person has to have that focus. You know, somebody once asked me, it's an interesting thing, Rabbanim get themselves into all kinds of interesting situations. There was a group of about 60 people, that gathered together to watch on television the Super Bowl. But they didn't want to be tempted to watch the halftime show. So they wanted me to come to the house to say a Dvar Torah during halftime. 60 people. So many of these people were Chaverim, Talmidim, and I worked it out that I should be around, that they should call me like 2 minutes before halftime. And I came, and I said a Dvar Torah. And I want to tell you one of the messages I told them. What could you learn from football? What you learn from football is you can't play football without having a goal, an end zone. You need to have goals. You can't play baseball without home plate. You can't play hockey or soccer without a goal. You can't win without a goal. In life, in order to score, you have to have goals. You have to have a sense of mission. Without goals in life, without a home plate, you can't score. Our goal is to change and improve. So let me give you an example. In what I think is one of the more important Gemaras in Shas, the Gemara says, "La'olam yevakesh adam shelo yechela." A person always should pray not to become sick. I can't say this enough times. A person should pray not to become sick. Here I know a chaver who last summer was healthy. I haven't talked to him the whole year. I find out this year he has a problem with yena machla and has a failing kidney. In the course of 1 year, from complete health to severe health challenges, multiple ones. He's a young man. A person needs to pray not to become sick. And the Gemara says it's important to pray beforehand, because once a person becomes sick, then the Hashem says, oh, now you have to bring schusim in order to get healthy. Beforehand, a person doesn't have to bring big papers. But afterwards, now a person has to come with a lawyer and bring schusim. It's much harder. And by the way, I compare this to, there's a difference if my child calls me from yeshiva to say hello, or if he calls me that he needs money. I'm much more moved if he's just calling me to say hello. He calls me to need money, and then he says, hi, Dad. That's not as, it's much more if we call Hashem before we need something. So what it says, Karov Hashem lechol karov, lechol asher yikrahu v'emes. To those that call in truth, not in need. It's always better to pray before one gets sick. The Rabbi Nabachia says that you should pray in Rifa'enu, because Rifa'enu doesn't mean to get healthy. It means to stay healthy. Like it says, Kol ha'machla asher samti b'mitzrayim lo yotzim alecha. All the sickness that I gave Mitzrayim, I won't give you. Ki ani Hashem rifecha. For I'm Hashem, your doctor. But if we're not going to get sick, what do we need a doctor for? I'm your preventive doctor. So Rafa'enu Hashem, prevent me from getting sick, Hashem. V'nei Rafi, then I won't get sick. That's where to daven for it. Everybody should daven for it. From young to old. Everybody should daven for it. That's why sometimes we have Lo Yaleinu, young people get sick. So that nobody should say, I don't need to daven. Lo Yilom Yavakesh Adam. Always, at any age. Any age, even if a person is a robust, in perfect health. I knew a man, perfectly healthy. Played ball 3 times a week. Specimen of health. One day he took a blood test, a routine blood test. He found that he had leukemia. Just like that. 2 years later, he was gone. La'olam Yavakesh Adam. And by the way, this is why we get together. We get together that we should know these things and we should do them. It's a matter of life and death. So let me tell you a story. tell you a story. I made a bracha already for those that didn't hear it. It's always good. It says that you should be above suspicion. It's always good if somebody sees you after you made a bracha to let them know that you made a bracha. Otherwise somebody says, hey, you see, so from a guy who doesn't even make a bracha. We have a suspicious bent of mind. You know, when I'm by a smorgasbord at a chasana, and I'm eating in one place, and then I continue eating in another place, you know, you go to the sweetbreads, and then you find a piece of stuffed cabbage, so you want to eat it. When I do that, and people are seeing me for the first time, I say a pasuk. I say a pasuk. I say a pasuk. So that people will think I'm saying a bracha. Person has to be above suspicion. We learned that, you know. We learned that if you're at the corner of a block, you should have a menorah at 2 windows. So people that are coming down one side of the street shouldn't think that you didn't like the menorah. I know Rabbi Moshe Feinstein does this. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein has a menorah on 2. Not like people are going to think that Rabbi Moshe Feinstein didn't like the menorah, right? But you're supposed to live above suspicion. Now, Rav Zilberstein tells a story. There was a man that sent him the following letter. That a choshev man in Eretz Yisrael sent him a letter that he was having pains in the head, lo yaleinu. And it was growing worse and worse, and he told his wife, something isn't right. Something isn't right. Something isn't right. Finally, he went to the doctor. They sent him for an MRI, and the worst news, lo yaleinu, they found a growth. So he said he fell into a chalishas hadas. He fell into a depression. And he said he was trained that when you're in trouble, pray to Hashem. So he prayed to Hashem, what should I do? And he said shortly after, he remembered the Gemara that whoever says Amen Yehei Shmei Rabbah with all one's kavanah, his decree will be torn up. It says, Afilu gzar din shel shivim shana l'ra koirinaisa. Even a decree of 70 years. So what he did was, interesting, he didn't rely on his own kavanah. He went out and he hired 10 Talmidei Chachamim to say Amen Yehei Shmei Rabbah with a special kavanah in his chus. And he paid 10 Talmidei Chachamim to do it. And he said 3 months later he went back for a scan and the growth disappeared. He sent this letter to Rav Zilberstein. It's printed. This letter is printed in the Aleinu L'Shabeach. In the Barchi Nafshi, no, I'm sorry, it's printed in the Tufchi Yabiyu. In the Barchi Nafshi, which is a much later sefer by Rav Zilberstein said the initial letter became worldwide known, and a Yid in London had a machla in his feet. It was a young man who became confined to a wheelchair. And he read this, and he too hired 10 Talmidei Chachamim to say Amen Yehei Shmei Rabbah. And what happened was he started slowly getting better, and 1 month he had a terrible reversal. So he called the 10 Talmidei Chachamim, and each one said they were not really diligent that month. 2 months later, he was out of the wheelchair. This is recorded in the Barchi Nafshi. We don't have to wait for problems to say an Amen Yehei Shmei Rabbah with all our kavanah. Now, first of all, you have to know, it's not as easy as it sounds. First of all, the Amen of Amen Yesh Mei Rabba is going back on the previous statement, that Yiskadal Yiskadash Mei Rabba, and that it should happen by Golo Vizman Kariv, which sounds rhetorical, speedily and soon. But it means the process of Chevlei Mashiach should be speedily, shouldn't linger, and it should happen soon. What does it mean, Yiskadal v'Yiskadash, to become great and holy? That almost sounds like blasphemy. God can't become great and holy. He's the greatest and the holiest. But it means the Mashiach should come, that Hashem should be known by more people. So thus he will be, in a sense, greater and holier. So to that we say Amen, which means I believe it will happen, it's true, and Ken Yiratzah. And then we say, Yehi Shmei Rabba, may your great name, Mavorach, be blessed, not just here, but forever and all eternity. I believe in forever and all eternity. Now, a person who says that with Kavanah, that's a great opportunity. How great? How great? Because we're talking about improving. How great? So first of all, you know that Bereshis, the word Bereshis, stands for Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba Bakol Tefillah. Or Bakol Toikif, with all your strength, like the Gemara says, Bakol Kach. That's the actual letters of Bereshis, is a mnemonic for Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba Bakol Tefillah or Bakol Toikif, which means that the whole world was created for this. The moment of Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba in a shul, a woman comes to daven. She can answer an Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba. And it could tear a decree. Now, people will say, but I know decrees that weren't torn. It's not a guarantee. It can help. At the same time, this person could be saying not nice things to their parents, and that's life-shortening. This person could be embarrassing somebody in public. You know, the people have always questions. Well, why didn't it help? Well, because there's the scales of justice are not simple. And by the way, we can never figure them out. I tell people, never try to figure out Hashem's way of doing things. Mishpatecha tohoim rabba. Your judgment is very deep. Very deep. We don't understand Hashem's judgment. Even Moshe Rabbeinu, who was puzzled and asked Hashem, why is there a righteous person that has good? A righteous person has bad, and a wicked person that has good. And Hashem told him, sorry, it's beyond you. Sorry, it's out of your ballpark. It's above your pay scale. And Moshe Rabbeinu can't know it, and we shouldn't even try to understand it. Try to understand it. Suffices to say, but you want to know how great Amen Yesh Mei Rabba is? Another Mishnah Brura. Now you heard the Mishnah Brura wax so eloquently earlier about Kadosh, 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 that Hashem says there's no time like that our eyes are locked, and I look at the Dumas of Yaakov and the Kisei Yaakov, and I remember your Zechuzim. Yet on Amen Yesh Mei Rabba, the Mishnah Brura Paskins, let's say you go into a minion machine, like Shemer Shabbos. Minion machine. And one minion is saying Amen Yesh Mei Rabba, one minion is saying Kadosh, Kadosh, and one minion is saying Baruch. It says Amen Yesh Mei Rabba trumps Kadosh, 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 and Baruch. So as great as Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh is, Amen Yesh Mei Rabba is bigger. So here you have an improvement, just to work on an Amen Yesh Mei Rabba. I want to talk to you for a moment about a Maimer Chazal. There's a Maimer Chazal that says, Ein toiv ela Torah. The only good in life is Torah. Shenema, this is backed with a pasuk. Shenema, ki lekach toiv nosati lochem, goodly merchandise I have given you. Toirasi al tazayv, don't forsake my Torah. Okay. What does it mean, ein toiv ela Torah? The only good is Torah. What does that mean? What does that mean? So, we have to understand that everybody here wants the good life. What a good life. We want to have good times. We want to have a good summer. Is there a way to lift the air conditioning there at all? I think a lot of people are hot, if I'm not mistaken. I see a glazed look on people. And I'm like dripping sweat. What does it mean, a good marriage? Now, you should know that the good life is a multi-trillion-dollar business in America. America invests a tremendous amount of money into the good life. For example, just to give you an example, there is a computer game called Black Ops that on the first day it was released, it net $1 billion. $1 billion on the first day. That's how much money we invest in a good time. What's a good Shabbos? So many people will tell you a good Shabbos is if the cholent bubbled the whole night on the blech and the pacha was prepared correctly. What's a good summer? We got to do everything we wanted. Comes Chazal, and Chazal tells us, Ein toiv ela Torah. Real good is only Torah. Now it's such a signpost for life. Shenemar ki, thank you. Shenemar ki lekach toiv nosati lochem. Goodly merchandise I have given you. Now, by the way, lekach toiv in gematria is exactly 155, which is the exact gematria of Daf HaYomi. Because Daf HaYomi is an example of regularity of Torah. That's what Hashem wants from us. Kavato itim la Torah. But you have to know, and when Chazal tell us, Ein toiv ela Torah, one of the challenges of life, and as a Rav, I see people really mess up in this area. One of the challenges of life is having the right priorities. Having the right priorities. If a husband is always glued to the computer and never there for his family, he's failing. Even if he's not doing anything wrong with the computer, even just doing work. A wife who is always busy out of the house with tzedakahs and is never there for her home, she's failing. Because she's not setting her priorities right. She's dropping the ball. In selecting one's priority, in the goal that we talked about, the home plate, in order to win, we have to know that the Rabbi Shalom said and looked at the world, Vayara lekim es kol asher asa v'hinei tov ma'od. Hashem saw everything that he did, and it's very good. So if everything is very good, then what does it mean, Ein toiv ela Torah? And here Hashem says, listen to me, I'm the manufacturer. I made pistachio nuts. I made lamb chops. I made the Riviera. I made the pleasures of a beautiful woman. I made all these things. And I, as the manufacturer, am telling you, ain't toiv elatayra. You hear that, Hashem says? You want to know to set your priorities? Ain't toiv elatayra. That's why it says, ain't simcha ka simchas hatayra. The serenity of the mind, the tranquility of the soul, the sweetness of the heart is unmatched to Torah. Hashem is begging us. Tamu ra'u. Taste it and you'll see. Ki toiv Hashem. It's good, but you got to taste it. So the good summer is the summer that we make Torah projects. I know people that they make sure before the summer to make Torah projects. They're going to learn Masechtas Brachos this year. This summer. They're going to work on Masechtas Brachos. They're going to work on Masechtas Makkos. They're going to really learn the summer parashiyos. They didn't learn it well in school. They're going to really learn it well. Finally know it. Getting older. They make a project. Some people say, I'm going to buy myself a commentary on the Siddur, and I'm finally going to learn Siddur so that I know what I'm saying. Rabbi Miller has a wonderful pirush on davening. There's a wonderful sefer called Berumah Shel Olam. You can get it in any Svarim store. There's a wonderful sefer Olas Tomid with Nekudas. Easy to learn. And these explain davening so that at least when we daven, I always tell people, learn davening. If you want to know what to learn, we have a problem. It's called retention. It's a big problem. Somebody comes to a share by me, they go out, and somebody meets them. You went to Rabbi Weiss share? Yeah. Oh, it was very good. What do you speak about it? Not good at that, but I know it was very good. So what did he say? Good stuff. So what did you get out of it? I think he said that you should change. I think so. Yeah, I remember he said you meet 5 years younger than yourself. Yeah. What else did he say? That was about it. We have a retention problem. But one area that if we work on, we review every day. And that's prayer. Because if we work on prayer, we review it every time we daven. You know, I came across one of my daughter's Sidurim from when she was in 7th grade. And she had posts it on Shemona Esrei. It was great. I told her afterwards, I had such a good Shemona Esrei. And the teacher told them that in the bracha of Magen Avram, they should have in mind that they were born to a Jewish family. So that when you say Alekei Avram, Alekei Yitzchok, and Alekei Yaakov, that your avos, those are your avos, you thank Hashem that you could have been born into an Arab family. Could have been born into an Indian pagan family. When you say the bracha of avos, of course, when you say the bracha of avos, you should have in mind first and foremost Magen Avram. That since Avram, he's been protecting us. So I have in mind, when I say Magen Avram, it's easy to have in mind that Hashem protected Avram when Nimrod threw him into the furnace of fire. I know that that's the meaning. So I have that in mind automatically. Now I tell you that, and you could review that every time you daven Shemona Esrei. Or you could review that you should have in mind in the first bracha, which is so critical, because if you don't have in mind that bracha, you really don't fulfill Shemona Esrei. And the reason for that is because that's the password to get into the palace. We come to the door, and not everybody is let into the palace of Hashem to come Oymid Bifnei HaMelech. But the password is that I'm a descendant of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Oh, then the doors swing open. If you don't have that in mind, you're talking to the wall. You never got in. That's why if you say it, don't have kavanah, you really have to say it again. We don't say it again because we paskin that you probably won't have kavanah the second time either. That's what it says in Shulchan Aruch. And even though it's a Ramah, but the Sfardim hold like this Ramah, even though the Sfardim only hold like the Shulchan Aruch, but the Sfardim hold like this Ramah. Right? You shouldn't say it over because you won't have kavanah the second time either. So you make a project in the summer that I'm going to say my davening with more kavanah. I'm going to learn davening. Or you make it a project that I'm going to learn this year Pirkei Avos. This summer I'm going to learn Pirkei Avos. By the way, as a commercial, you could get my Pirkei Avos. I have 12 CDs on the entire Pirkei Avos. Every Mishnah explained with a moral lesson. $36 for 12 CDs. It's a steal. But whatever you use, whether you use Irving Bunim's Ethics of Fathers, whether you use Rabbi Wein's excellent Pirush on Pirkei Avos, whether you, Rabbi Lau has a Pirush on Pirkei Avos, whether you use the Art Scroll Pirkei Avos, these are all excellent. But remember, it's called Pirkei Avos because it's the syllabus for parents. That's my favorite pshat in Pirkei Avos. It's chapters for parents. Parents are expected to teach their children to be Bali Midos. But how do they know how to teach them? Midos is a measure of a man. How do they know what to stress, what to not stress? So they learn Pirkei Avos. In Pirkei Avos it says, Ma'oid, ma'oid, have a shval ruach. The only time in Chazal where it ever uses such a lashon, ma'oid, ma'oid, very, very humble. So your child comes in and says, everybody got an aliyah on Yus Shabbos and I didn't get an aliyah, it wasn't fair. So you tell your child, look, it says in Pirkei Avos that such a thing shouldn't bother you. Ma'oid, ma'oid, have a shval ruach. I have a chasana tomorrow night. And the chassan is texting me furiously. He doesn't know if he has a bracha to give me. He has so many relatives. So I sent it back. I'm coming. Don't worry. Don't worry. So what should I tell him? What? You don't have a bracha for me? Would that be ma'oid, ma'oid, have a shval ruach? If it said one ma'oid, okay, so I could say, yeah, but I'm Rabbi Weiss. That's why it says, ma'oid, ma'oid. Very, 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 very. So you make a project. But remember, I can't emphasize this enough. I can't emphasize this enough. Remember what it says, what Hashem told the Malachim, Herzu lehem tshuva. Why am I sending down the Torah of purity to downtown Burbank of planet Earth? To Stein V'Amoira? Why am I sending it to such a morass of decadence and promiscuity? Where petty people fight about petty things and they gossip about Lashon Hara. Why am I sending my Torah there? Herzu lehem tshuva! Because the whole purpose of being a Ben Torah is to change and improve. And this should be a mantra for us. Some people do it every night. They go to sleep and they go through their day and they think, what could I have done better today? What mistake did I make with my spouse? Was I a little bit irritable? Did I back my spouse enough? Did I defend my spouse enough? How was I with my children? Did I give them enough time? What about my parents? How was I when I wore my tefillin? How was my tznius today? How are my brachas? You know, brachas change the kedusha and the success in a home. When we make good brachas in the home, it's a pasuk. If I make a good asher yotzer at home, a good b'rei nefashos, a good shahako, it says, B'chol mokom asher asker eshmi yovay elecho v'erachticha. Every place you mention my name, I will come to you and I will bless you. That's what it says. I would like to thank all of you for coming out on a hot, sweaty night to learn with us Torah. Remember, you want to succeed. Remember, you can't play football without an end zone. You can't play soccer and hockey without a goal. You need to have goals in life. What's going to be your goal for this summer? What's going to be your goal? In what way do you want to change? Do you want to improve? You're going to spend more time with your spouse? It's a big problem, time. Maybe take walks together. Maybe cook together. Maybe go antiquing together. Maybe take a little weekend off and go to a bed and breakfast. Whatever it is. Am I going to reconnect with this child that I haven't been so great with? Am I going to reconnect with my Gemara, with my Siddur, with my Tefillin, with my Mezuzah? Remember, that's why Hashem sent the Torah down to us. The Malachim can't change. That's why the Malachim at the Yam Suf always bothered me. When the Jews were crossing over and the 9 million Egyptians were drowning, the Malachim looked puzzled and asked Hashem, Halol oiv de avodah zarah v'halol oiv de avodah zarah. These are idolaters and these are idolaters, because they know we sunk to the 49th degree of Tumah. But we don't understand their comment because we know that we were changing. The answer is a Malach doesn't understand the concept of the change. That's not on the Malach's radar. A Malach is always the same. It doesn't understand. It's like a blind person. You can't explain colors. A deaf person, you can't explain the pleasure of a symphony. A Malach, you can't explain change, because a Malach doesn't change. So to a Malach, halol oiv de avodah zarah v'halol oiv de avodah zarah. We change. But only people of Aliyah. Bnei Aliyah means people that improve, that rise. We have to ask ourselves, and we have to, at the beginning of the summer, we have to set for ourselves defined goals. It might be that I won't raise my voice this summer. I'm really going to work on that. It might be that I'm going to be more complimentary this summer. Some people, they never compliment. Yeah, what I have to say it for? Your children's been good all the time. You know, you want me to say it? Okay, it was good. Yeah, it was good. The sweetness of a compliment. Less criticism. A better davening. Holding the hand on the mezuzah for a pause once a day to think of its message. There are so many things in the merit of bettering ourselves. May Hashem Taka Mida Keneged Mida give us better lives, happier lives, healthier lives. And once again, we want to thank Chazaq for supporting the share with all those that chipped in towards it. And we should be Zaycha to the Biaskel Tzedek B'mher V'Yameinu.